alive.
Okay. In The Wizard of Oz, okay, when the scene starts with the witch on the bike, that is one of the townspeople in the Sepia part. I know it's not the music playing, but to me, it's Flight of the Bumblebee.
Okay, so you think... Dun, 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 dun.
No, it's... That's Flight of the Bumblebee.
Right, that's what you're singing.
Yes.
That's not what's playing.
Oh, no, I know that's not what's playing.
That's what I'm saying. I was going to say, you think that, like, dun, 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 which is what's playing in the thing is...
Yeah, Flight of the Bumblebee is a great song.
That is a great
For those of you who don't know what song that is, look it up. You know it.
Look it up. Why is there not a remix? Just, you know what? Make that a bop.
A bop. It slaps,
Yeah.
as the kids say. Without slapping involved.
Yes, I can see Chapel Ronan doing the, Bumblebee Club.
That girl.
Yes, that girl.
Welcome to episode 335.
Yes, sir.
Wait, our 300th episode was 35. No, it was more than 35 weeks ago because it doesn't account the 6 weeks we took off during the winter. So it was like 41 weeks ago. Welcome to episode 335, everybody, of Pero Let Me Tell You.
That was Math Corner.
Yeah, I'm really good at fast arithmetic.
You are, I am not.
You're not.
No.
It's funny because like sometimes my kid is like, what's, 424 plus 120? And I'm like, 544. And he's like, how do you do that so fast? I'm like, you're not the only one that does fast arithmetic in your head, little boy.
Yeah.
You got it from me.
Exactly. It's hereditary. Yes.
And I tell you like, what's 23 plus 7? And you're like, 30?
30. But I was figuring it out. It did take me that long to think.
But you don't do it naturally. Like, I just do it so naturally. I start adding ones and twos and, spaces. And
no, Selena Gomez. Not all of us do math naturally.
Wait, that's a line of a song?
No, but her song was called Naturally.
Oh, okay. It's like, really? She was singing about arithmetic?
Wait, who did sing about arithmetic?
I love my calculus. That's you plus me equals us. And if you know that song, you're over the age of 35.
Yeah, it's time to go to the chiropractor.
Oh my God, I'll never forget a couple of years ago in the halftime show that it was, the hip hop halftime show with Dr. Dre and Snoop and Eminem and Mary J. Blige and all that. People are like, if you grew up on this music, it's time for your colonoscopy.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn it.
And it was.
It's good too.
Yeah, listen, health is important.
Health is important.
Health is important.
Health's important. It's so weird that
colorectal cancer is
Pat Benatar has a song called Hell is for Children.
And, sometimes she's not wrong.
Oh, no. Hell is not for children.
Yeah, think about it. If we're thinking metaphorically, right? Like the concept of a place where only bad people live, that's a childlike fantasy.
I thought that the way you went to hell was if you didn't make it through the gate in Never Ending Story. Do you know what gate I'm talking about?
I do know what gate.
The two angel-looking things that throw fire that the horse has to run through.
So if you don't make it through there,
you go to hell.
Straight to hell.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was terrified as a kid of that scene. I mean, listen, if you're old enough to remember Never Ending Story, I mean, seriously, and I know I speak for generations who grew up on that movie. If you're anywhere between like 35, 45, you grew up on this movie. You probably saw this movie when you were a little kid. The part where the horse, A-track?
Oh, God.
It's not Ajax.
And it's not 8-track.
It's Artax. Artax.
Yes.
Atreyu is riding Artax. The part when he is in the quicksand, in the mud, that traumatized me. Like, I'm not kidding.
All of us.
Like, it traumatized me. That's why I said generations were traumatized. And the part, again, of the gate when he has to run through the gate, and those angel-looking things are so pretty, and they're like, oh, yes, run through the thing.
Temptation is very seldom ugly.
And then when he's walking through, that he's going to go up to the gate, he sees the knight that got shot by the flames, and you see like his thing opens up, the thing he's wearing, the mask, the helmet, and you see him, and I'm like, I was petrified. And then what was really weird, that the kid reading the story, I kind of looked like him.
That was Jonathan Brandis, right? No.
Sequest? No.
Okay.
The kid reading the story? No, I don't think he did anything else. I sort of looked like him at that age, and I was like, A never-ending story, man.
Yeah. Also, the never-ending story just again perpetuating that us children of the 80s thought Quicksand was going to be a much bigger deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Un pantano.
Oh, is that? Oh, okay, yeah.
Un pantano.
I never thought about it in that way.
Yeah. Oh my God. Growing up, there was a soap opera on Univision. It was called La Indomable.
Oh.
That the bad lady, she dies because she falls in un pantano in her wedding dress.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe
And like
that's what
the
inspired
last
Alanis
scene is
Morissette.
like her hand with like the bouquet falling. And I'm like, couldn't just somebody give her a stick?
Well, no, because she was the bad lady.
That's
They didn't
like
want to save
in
her.
that other soap opera when I was a kid, Topacio. I remember somebody got eaten by piranhas, and that's where my fear of piranhas came as a kid. Wow. Una piraña.
Wow. You know what it is to be eaten by piranhas? That's the worst.
Kind of sucks, right?
Oh, God.
That's why I'm not going to the Amazon.
Really?
You know, I'm adventurous. I am. I mean, I jumped off a cable car in the Swiss Alps and bungee jumped.
You jumped out of a plane.
I jumped out of a plane.
You did the bridge in Australia, didn't you?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. You're an adventurous person.
I
Yes,
have no
yes.
fear of that. I would go on explorations and all that. I don't need to go to the Amazon. No.
Is it because you think there's going to be an anaconda and Jennifer Lopez won't be there to save you from John Hurt being regurgitated?
I don't need to go to Amazon. I don't. It's okay. I'll watch a documentary of it. I have watched many documentaries about
So
the
like
Amazon.
if somebody was to be like, hey, we're going to take you on a trip to the Amazon,
No.
you'd be like, no, thank you.
Nope.
All expenses paid.
Nope.
No, thank you.
Unless it's like a really nice resort at like the entrance of the Amazon. Like, hi, welcome to the Amazon. Here's a little sign and the hotel's right there.
So you want to be Amazon adjacent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, no. Like, I remember completely different.
And this is all because of piranhas.
Not only piranhas, have you heard the expedition Teddy Roosevelt had in the Amazon?
Well, I mean, that was so long ago.
Right, but the Amazon is forever. Like what killed you in the Amazon back then will kill you now. Well, yellow fever is under control.
I'm saying, I mean, you know, I think they've gotten some things under control.
I'll never forget that one time
dengue.
I was in Yosemite and we were going through like a part that they had like lion cats or bobcats or whatever, and it said there was a sign that said, "Wait, lion cats? Isn't that the cartoon?"
No, that's also the same thing. A lion is a cat, but you're thinking of Thundercats.
No, wait, a bobcat
A bobcat.
or
yes.
a mountain cat?
A mountain lion.
A mountain lion. That's what it was. It was a feline of sorts. A feline. Let's just do a generic. It was a large feline with big saber teeth or whatever. Anyway,
So it's a saber-tooth tiger?
whatever. Can I just finish my freaking story? Damn. You know what? I don't want to tell you my story anymore.
No.
So anyway,
tell us your story.
So I was going through the mountain and the woods as one does, and there was signs. I was like, "Be careful of the felines. If you see one, do not make noise. If you do not make noise.
Right.
Number 2, hide behind a tree. Number 3, don't speak up or whatever. If you have food, get rid of food, like those type of things." And then the 4th or 5th one was like, "If all else fails, just run." And I was like, I'm not going to outrun the mountain cat or the mountain lion. Or the panther of sorts, like whatever it was. I don't know. Maybe it was a jaguar, a puma, a cheetah. I don't know what it was.
I love this collection of cats that are just roaming.
I don't like felines.
You don't, but yet you have a soft spot for cats. You don't like big cats.
Like garden variety cats, like
Yes.
everyday house cats. No, I'm good with.
Yeah.
I'm allergic as hell to them, but I wish them well.
Yes.
I'm not a feline person.
You're not.
My favorite animals are giraffes, llamas, and apopkas.
And they all get eaten by felines. Like every documentary, they don't make it.
What do they all have in common? Apparently, I like long necks. Okay, I mean, listen. Okay,
And that's the
seriously.
lost Sir
Okay,
Mix-a-Lot
seriously.
song.
Okay, no. Our listeners, especially the ones that listen to us on the radio, are probably going to thinking I'm like full of shit, right? Okay. Aren't giraffes incredible animals?
I love a giraffe. Oh my god! Did you hear about the giraffe the other day? I don't know about the other day. The giraffe that died when its zookeeper died. They both died within hours of each other.
Oh,
I was like, oh,
poor giraffe.
Well, okay, yes, but they were connected. They loved each other.
Yeah. Giraffes are nature's, what do we call it? Nature's most unappreciated animals.
They really are.
They really are majestic
They
and
are
incredible. And everybody's like, oh, my favorite animal is a shark. It's a lion. It's like, whatever, dude. You go take your alpha male, whatever, somewhere else.
Whatever.
My favorite animal is a goldfish.
My favorite animal is the platypus. So,
wait, is the plural platypus platypi, right?
It is, yes.
It's not platypuses.
No, that's no platypi.
So the plural of hippopotamus is hippopotami?
Yes.
Not hippopotamuses?
No.
Isn't it
Unless you're in a Looney Tunes cartoon.
Isn't it insane? And welcome to the
animal portion?
The animal portion
Wild
of Pero Let Me
Kingdom
Tell You.
of
The
Pero Let Me
Wild
Tell You.
Kingdom of Pero Let Me Tell You. If we could get a wild animal sound.
That would be great.
Junior, any wild animal sounds? What is that?
Like a chirping? That's the wild animal sound he gives us? A cricket? Now he thinks he's in the Amazon and he's triggered.
Okay, you know what song I love?
Your
Okay, you know
transitions are fantastic.
you know what song I love, which is totally not me.
Okay.
I love The Lion Sleeps Tonight.
We mow it.
I love that song.
That is not you.
Have you seen Billy Joel do it?
No.
Oh, it's great. Billy Joel on Jimmy Fallon. Look it up. Lion Sleeps Tonight. That is such a good song.
Oh no, I like the song. I didn't know where the hell this was going. That's what,
That would have never been a song that I like.
no, not off the top of your head. Like I think we should make a Pero Let Me Tell You playlist of songs that you would never think Darian likes, and just have it be one. Like it would be The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and Moñoñong. Just all these.
Oh, you know what
random
song I love?
songs.
Esta carta desgraciada, puño y letra de mi amada by Oscar de León.
Oh, there we go. One more.
Oscar de León had the hits.
He was quite the bop maker.
And Eddie Santiago.
Yes, I mean, and Oscar de León was a lion.
Gilberto Santa Rosa.
Yeah. These are all like they're not quite peluqueria rock, but they're
A little bit. That was Hialeah Peluqueria Rock.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, that is the jungle corner of
Pero
Let Me Tell You. Wow. Can people at home hear this? Oh, we're in a waterfall. Is this the Amazon? Are we in a river in the Amazon?
Sounds like there's big bugs.
This is a giraffe eating leaves
Oh,
What?
in the safari.
What sound do giraffes make? They don't have the.
I'm sure they have a noise. Yeah, I'm sure they make some weird noise, but like it's so far up you never hear it.
Junior, that sound really took me there. For a minute, I forgot where I was.
Se desorientó.
I got disoriented. Just like when you wake up from a nap. Okay, what is that?
Is this a hippopotamus?
Is that a giraffe?
A lioness roars.
Oh, una pesa.
Well, she's protecting her pride.
Fine.
Listen, you know what? You should actually
Listeners, do you hear that in your car? You are not being attacked by.
You're not at Wild Animal Country Safari.
Yes. Don't go faster. There are not elephants chasing you. Pero Let Me Tell You is not responsible for any liability claims. I feel I'm in a Disney ride.
Or at least Animal Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom ride. We're in ¿Cómo se llama the Avatar ride? Pangea? No,
Pandora.
Apopka? Pandora.
Pandora.
What were
Panera. They're having a bread bowl.
You know that is the biggest lie on earth?
Really? The biggest lie on earth is the
biggest
bread
lie
bowl?
on earth is when you go somewhere like, yeah, you could have your broccoli and cheddar soup in a bread bowl, and you're like so excited that you're having this soup or French onion soup in a bread bowl, and then when they give you the bread bowl, I'm like, yeah, like that's not a lot of soup, bro. Like,
No, I get it, but it's a bread bowl.
the cup is better. The cup has more volume.
I know, but you can't eat the cup after.
And are you gonna eat all that sourdough bread?
Are you new here?
Okay, but that's sourdough bread. Like, ¿quién se panta an entire loaf of sourdough? I mean,
Again, maybe the average person, but you know me.
give me a bread bowl soup on a huge Olive Garden breadstick. How about that?
Those breadsticks are so good.
So speaking of Olive Garden, oh, for all of you who have commented on our previous post as to what were some of your favorite restaurants,
Olive Garden was a big one on there.
yeah, Olive Garden is a big one. I love there was somebody who wrote, "Oh, I used to love it Molino," and I'm like, "Oh, is that the one with the big windmill in the front?" And she was like, "Yeah, never mind, it's a Hialeah thing." So. There's actually something I wanted to bring up since we're talking about restaurants. So there is currently proposed Florida legislation that would essentially ban automatic tips on your bills for parties, I think, of 6 or less.
Okay, I was going to ask.
And if they decide to put the automatic tip on the bill, they would have to disclose it. So again, the bill right now is being proposed that for parties of 6 or less, any automatic gratuity would be essentially illegal, and if they do add it, they have to disclose it in the menu. So sort of what I wanted to talk about that was, what do we think about this? Because something that I have found is that a lot of times when they do add gratuity automatic to your bill, it's done in a very sort of sinister way that you don't realize that that they're adding this bill, this gratuity to your bill, and many times you end up adding more more gratuity, thinking that that you're adding your 20% or 15% or whatever you leave. So I was just wondering, do we think that's fair? Do we agree with this? Because I've said this many times before. I believe, especially in restaurants and in the service industry, I believe 100% in gratuities, and I believe I always leave 20%, and I'm always very, very generous to my server, because that being a server is a very, very hard job, and you have to deal with a lot, and I always leave at least 20%, and I'm very happy to do that. But I think we can all agree that the tipping culture has gone out of control, just out of control. The just everywhere that you have to tip. I've said this story before. Yeah. I remember last year I went to the dentist office, and when I checked in, they asked me for a tip when I was checking in. It's true. Every time you see one of those iPads that sort of swivel, it's like, get ready. The tip is coming.
Wow, that sounds
awful. And I remember last week I was in the airport, and I literally went to a self-service station to get a bottle of water, and I rang it up myself, and I obviously swiped my credit card, and that asked me to leave a tip
for yourself,
and the attendant was right there, and I sort of felt bad. I was like, should I leave her a tip? And I was like, no, because I went to the machine, I got the water bottle, I put it in, I put it in the register, I scanned it, and I paid for it. Like, why am I going to leave a tip for this? And it's not that person's fault, but it's like tipping culture has gone out of control. So listeners, what do you think? Do you think that tipping culture has gone out of control? Do you think that gratuities should be added to a final bill? Like, what do you guys think? Comment below. Let us know.
Yeah. So I will say, my first question was going to be about, like, is it across the board, or what's the cutoff point? Because I do agree that if you have a big group, I think it should be added, because you know what? La gente son descarado.
Super descarado. I have a good story about this.
So, if you're 6 people, 7 people, whatever the cutoff is, I agree with that. But it's funny you say about, like, some of these places are being sneaky with the tipping. So not that long ago, I was at a bar in Wynwood, and we, and again, at a bar, you may not notice certain things when you're signing off on the receipt, because you may be, you're drinking, you may be a little tipsy, or you're talking, está entretenido, right?
So, everybody in the club getting tipsy.
So, the thing comes, whatever. And I had gone to the bathroom when I come back, Jose and our friend was like, hey, next time, like, did you leave a tip? Did you leave an extra tip? I'm like, yeah, I left a tip or whatever. No, because we ordered something while you were gone. And when we looked at the bill, just to make sure, what they charged us for, they included a gratuity. But the way that they included it was called a delivery charge. And my question to that is like, do I have the option? Because can I go around? I'll make my own drink if you let me. I'll go around and I'll pick it up.
Delivery is from the back of the bar to
the 6 inches to put it on the bar. Is the delivery charge. And again, I understand that you're trying to help your employees ensure that they're being tipped and this and that. But at a certain point, also, I feel like now what you're doing is you're trying to force gratuity as a way to subsidize the wages that you are not paying your employees. Of course. That's not correct.
And what happens, excuse me, what happens, or I think is happening, is that people sort of have tipping fatigue.
And they're like, fuck it.
And they're starting to not to tip or tip less. And then the people that really deserve the tip, aren't getting tipped at all. I think I said this story before here on the podcast, but I remember last year, I ordered a big platter of sushi for the office.
Yes.
And it was like $250. It was a big platter of sushi. And I ordered it to go. And I went to the place. I picked it up. I even got a little bag and put all like the chopsticks and napkins and soy sauce and all that. Like I got a bag and did that myself when I was there. So there was no service involved other than the person who made it.
Right.
But I nonetheless left, I think it was either a $10 tip or $20 tip. Regardless, when I get there, I hear like the person in the front go to the kitchen. Hey, the sushi platter is here. And it was $250 And I remember the lady in the back, she's like, oh, is that the person who left the $20 tip? And I like took a step back and I'm like, I left a $20 tip on something I got absolutely no service for. Right. And then I felt bad about it because I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. This was $240. Was I supposed to leave a $48 tip, which would be 20%,
for you to do your job?
For me to go and pick up this platter myself? I even, as I said, got the bag and put the chopsticks and put the soy sauce and put all that.
Didn't even take it out to the car.
No. I got out of my car. I went in. I paid for it I had paid for it previously, but I got it myself. So was I supposed to leave a $48 tip on that? Because I mean,
fuck no.
And I remember I was upset, but at the same time I was like, was I that person who didn't tip? Because I've always taken pride at being like a good tipper, like, again, I always give 20% unless it was just a bad experience that like really bad. If my food takes too long, I'll still give 20%. If I see that the waiter is like super backed up, I'll still give 20%. If my order is wrong, I still will give 20% because a lot of things are not the server's fault, right? But like the tipping fatigue is just out of hand.
Yeah, it's real.
It's out of hand.
And again, like you said, they're even asking you not to tip in situations where there's not really a service involved. So why is there a service gratuity?
Right.
Like, I mean, again, like the prime example is like we went to the dentist. Like, why am I tipping the dentist?
And you know what? And I think it's also the expectation, right? Because if you want to leave a couple of dollars, that's fine. I don't mind.
But who tips their dentist?
Huh?
Who tips the dentist?
No. I mean, in anything. In anything that is not traditionally something that you would tip in.
Okay, got it.
If you want to leave a couple of dollars, whatever. A couple of dollars for somebody making your coffee or your drink or whatever. I'm not going to make it a big deal. But a lot of times it's like, no, the standard tip, if I go to Subway and I'm already paying for a very overpriced mid sub, should I really leave a 15 to 20% tip?
Right.
Like, okay, I mean, I'll leave you $1 or $2, but I'm already paying almost $20 for a freaking middle of the road sub.
Yeah.
Mira, the other day I went to Subway.
Unlike Bean Pampoyo, where you get quality chicken served.
The other day, I mean, we a long time ago determined we were not getting the Subway sponsorship. So you know what? Here we go.
Yeah.
So
it'd be great if they're like, you know what? We want to change our image. We want you to
like 3 or 4 days ago. I went to Subway because I wanted a Subway sub, and I knew it was going to be bad, but whatever. And I have my go-to sub at Subway. So there's this new Baja chicken sub that it has like shredded chicken with like a nacho cheese sauce with like crispy onions, y no sé qué. I'm like, no, I'm gonna give it a try.
Okay.
Right? It had a lot of ingredients that are not your standard Subway stuff.
sub.
Again, the nacho cheese sauce,
Right.
that's not standard. The crispy onions, not standard. I had it. It
And?
tasted just like I could have been having a ham sub. You know what? In a way,
There's a beauty to that.
there is a beauty to that, because how is it that Subway can make a turkey sub taste the same as a steak and cheese sub? I don't know how they do it.
I mean, it's like the opposite of how Do Croqueta makes the croqueta taste like the medianoche.
Oh no, that's witchcraft.
Right, but I'm saying it's that witchcraft, but in the wrong way.
We have spoken to Alec and Vicky of Do Croqueta about this. Listeners, if you are local, or even if you come to Miami, you need to go to Do Croquetas and have the medianoche sub.
Yeah.
So, you know the medianoche sandwich? Think about the flavors involved: the pork, the mustard, the cheese, the pickles, the sweet bread, all that.
Qué rico.
When you have their medianoche croqueta, you literally go through like all the flavors. It's like the mustard, the pickles, the I'm like, how do they do this? To me, what they do is they literally get 100 medianoche subs, they sandwiches, they put it in a blender, they make a paste, and they deep fry that shit. To me, that is what they do.
Yeah.
And I don't care what you say.
I'm okay if that's how
I don't care what you say, Vicky and Alex, who created it.
you're
That is
wrong.
what you do.
Yeah.
You batter it and you fry
Yeah.
it. Because I'm like, how do you do it? Like,
There are no other explanations, really.
yeah. So yeah, tipping culture, it's out of control.
It is out of control, and I think again, it's the only thing I will say about the bill that's being proposed is, you know, how they were like, well, if it is included, then it has to be noted somewhere. Fair enough, it'll be in the menu, but here's what's going to happen: nobody's going to read that anyway. So there's still we're basically proposing this entire bill and this whole rigmarole for something that even if you have it in the menu, people are still going to bitch and moan. And you're going to have to remove.
And you know what's crazy? That in those included gratuities, so they usually add 20 to 22%.
Yeah.
So if your bill is $200, your bill is now going to be $240.
Right.
So you got that $240 bill, and you think, oh, I need to add now 20%.
Yep.
So now you are adding 20% on the already 20%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that when they do, I mean, I don't fall for that. But it's like, come on, people. Like, listen, I know we're living in hard times, and I know, listen, we are somewhat in the restaurant industry. I know how hard it is, but come on. Do you really want to do that to your customers?
Yeah, a mí me da pena. Like to this day, like, you know, we're talking about this, but we have a tip option in the thing, you know. A mí hasta me da pena, like, you know, because it's after they charge, I'm always like, oh, do you want a receipt? Because I don't feel comfortable
Asking people for a tip.
I don't even feel comfortable looking at people when I'm holding the thing. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah,
I hold it.
I look to the side
and I
whenever
kind of
I
look
do
to
it.
the side because I'm like, I don't want you to think I'm staring at it and being
But
like,
the clover makes us go through that screen.
I know. Well, I mean, we don't have to have it, but yes, but
Yeah.
it does. Yeah.
But it does. So whatever.
Yeah. So, since we're talking about, you know, Florida ordinances and Florida things, as it were,
Florida man.
I did want to bring up something that was happening this week here in Miami, or more specifically Miami Beach, with O Cinema.
Yes.
So, for those of you who don't
You
know,
are bringing up controversial things here on Pero Let Me Tell You.
You know, listen, we can't always be fluffy. Sometimes we do want to just bring up things that are happen. I mean, it's happening in our backyard, right? And I think it's important. So, for those of you who don't know, the Miami Beach mayor had initially, really, it was going up to a vote this week. Ultimately, didn't to evict O Cinema, which is a local art house type cinema, from a building that is owned by the city, which they had granted them the lease recently, really, and also part of the funding was coming from a grant that came from the city, because they were going to screen the film No Other Land, which is the recently Academy Award winning, was it for documentary or international feature? It was a documentary. Film that was about, you know, everything that's happening in Gaza and with Palestine and so on and so forth. You know, under and their whole auspice was that, you know, this is essentially it's a propaganda film is what they were saying, and they were saying that if they ran it, they would pull the lease, and they were putting it to a vote as up until I think it was actually the day of our recording, everybody came out and it's against it, not in support of, against it, in support of O Cinema. Ultimately saying like, look, you may not like the movie, you may not like the content, but this is ultimately the definition of a First Amendment issue.
Yeah, especially since you're talking about a government official
With a government property.
with the government property.
Right.
Yeah.
So, ultimately, literally like hours before the meeting was going to happen, they pulled that from the referendum. I think that what he is now proposing is that he wants them to offer like what he's calling, I believe, like fair and balanced programming. So like if you're presenting a documentary with, I'm using this as the example. If you're using a documentary that has one viewpoint, then you should have programming with another viewpoint. Is his kind of like, this is what I want to push for now. That in and of itself has its own like, well then who are you to tell me what my programming should and shouldn't be? But I have my thoughts on it, and obviously I think it's the definition of First Amendment violation. But because, sir, you are our resident legal expert, I mean, listen, it's between you, me, and Junior. The only one here who passed the bar is you. So
I may have gone to law school.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, you don't have to be a legal scholar to know that's unconstitutional.
Nowadays sometimes it helps.
Whatever your opinion on
The film. We're not talking about the film. We're not speaking of the content of the film.
Israel-Gaza thing, war going on, terrible. Whatever your opinion on it is, I realize that I see things a little bit differently because I do have a legal training. And when you go to law school, especially, you sort of deprogram the way you thought before and you reprogram your brain to think completely differently in the way that you assess and analyze things. So I get that sometimes I see things very differently. But you don't have to be a lawyer or a legal scholar, as I said, to understand that a government official telling a movie theater that happens to be on government property or public property that they cannot play something and that their license is going to be revoked is not only it's coercion, right? And it's a huge First Amendment violation, right? Huge, because you are removing the license of that. Now, if he would have been the mayor, it's the mayor, right?
It is the mayor of Miami Beach.
Right, and he would have said that he is protesting the movie, and
he calls on his
invites
to not go
on people of Miami Beach to go and protest the movie in front of the movie theater. Fair enough. Go and invoke and go and exercise your First Amendment rights. Right? If he wants to boycott that movie theater and start telling people to boycott the movie theater that don't agree with the message of the movie. Fair enough. But you can't do that because, again, you don't have to have a legal training to do this. But in law, you always say that.
But so many people nowadays seem to, at the first glimmer of anything, like First Amendment, without knowing what that really means.
Right. So a little review of the First Amendment. The First Amendment only applies when your speech is being curtailed. Well, your speech is limited and you have some type of consequence because of your speech by the government. Right. You can be fired. That's First Amendment 101. You can be fired from your private company for saying something that is not in line with the company or the management. Yes. You could lose a contract for saying something that you have every right to say from a private entity. That is not a First Amendment violation. A First Amendment violation is something that, because of your speech and your exercise of your speech or whatever other part of the First Amendment, because of that, you are now subject to some type of government action or intervention, being that you were penalized, you were arrested, something that you're paying a consequence for on behalf of a governmental agency or the police or something, right? It's not that you can go around saying something and not be fired or not have consequences. First Amendment 101. But back to what I was talking about. In law, you always, especially when you're talking about constitutional law or con law, you always have what's called the floodgates argument, right? That if we allow this, you are now opening up the floodgates. So what would stop, if you allow this to happen, right? And let's say that he does go to court, he does do this, and he goes to court and he wins, and he strips the lease or whatever, the license for them to do that. So what would stop is someone else in the future from, let's say there's an LGBT themed movie, or maybe just a movie with gay characters. It may be a town that is predominantly Christian, from somebody saying, oh, this offends my religious practice and my freedom of religion, and I'm offended by this. There's now legal precedent saying that this can happen.
Right.
Or what about if you are and I could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
What about if you're running a movie about a single mother?
Right.
That the movie's about her being a single mother, and that goes against your religious liberty and your religious views, and you find it offensive.
Or about an interracial couple.
Pick
anything.
So on and so on and so on and forth. And you are offended by that, and you think that that's wrong, and you don't agree with that, and it violates your morals, and it violates what you believe in, because there's also the freedom of religion aspect of that. Well, you now have legal precedent from a court of law, if they were to win this in a court of law, saying like, hey, you could remove the license of a movie theater that is playing a movie that you are not in agreement with as a public official. Right? So it's a floodgate issue. So you always have to, a lot of times in these matters, you always have to think of the consequence that allowing something like that can happen, even if it's something you don't agree with. Right? I've said this once again. I say this all the time. I'm not the only person that says freedom of speech is not freedom of me hearing things that I agree with. It's the freedom of people that I don't agree with and I have a lot of problems with being able to say what they say. Right?
Freedom of speech is not an echo chamber.
And you have to defend that, because you know what? There's going to be a lot of things that you say that a lot of other people don't agree with. Right. And that's what people lose sight of. There's people that say terrible things, terrible things, organizations that say terrible things, awful things, but that speech needs to be protected. The only speech that it should be protected is not the speech that you agree with. It's the speech you also disagree with. And unless it's an exception to the First Amendment, right? Like hate speech, things like that.
Yelling fire.
Unless it's something like that. The freedom of speech is not freedom of hearing what you want. It is freedom of speech. So, I read that, and when I read that, I was like, "Am I reading this correctly?" Like the mayor of Miami. I mean, and obviously, I understand that he's Jewish, and this is very personal for him.
Agree.
I totally get it. And Miami Beach has a very large Jewish and Orthodox Jewish population. I totally get it that this is something that strikes very close to home for him and is extremely personal. I get it. But you also can't be so jaded and so biased on your religious views or your cultural views that you are now proposing to do something that is in violation, especially as a public servant and a public official, that is in violation not only of the First Amendment, but just so many of the ethical codes that a civic servant has or a public servant has. So that's crazy.
I mean, whatever happened to the days of like, I don't like this thing, so I won't go to it.
Right. Or protest it.
I don't like, but I was saying, I don't like this program, I won't watch it. I don't like now. And this is a bigger thing, and social media, I hate to say this, we say this a lot, but social media also has turned us into this whole like, oh, I have a problem with this. Well, now it's everybody's problem.
Right.
I
mean, look, I don't like pickles, and
I love pickles.
I have trypophobia, and my Instagram Explore page is filled with dots and circles. And my phone probably heard that now.
And
so
you're gonna
AI
get
is probably going to give me more dots and circles.
Yeah, it's going to turn your phone into a circle dot.
And then I'm going to get Picasso.
Oh, no, not Picasso.
You've seen me have trypophobia.
I have.
Moments.
It's very interesting because I don't have it. So for me, it's not like something I think about.
So really, straws don't freak you out?
No. Oh, my gosh. Like, why would a straw? I mean, a paper straw?
No, a box of straws triggers me.
I like how it looks.
When they open a big box of straws and you say, oh my God, I'm getting triggered right now just thinking about it.
You literally just did this.
Yes,
you
I do.
Just itched. Yes.
It freaks me out. It freaks me out. You know what sort of freaks me out a little bit? Bubbles.
Bubbles?
Yeah, like.
No, sir.
Okay, listen to me.
No.
Not Mr. Bubble or a bubble. You know when you have soapy water
Okay. Like in the sink.
in the sink or in the bathtub,
Right.
and like the bubbles start getting in a corner, the little bubbles, that freaks me out a little bit. There's a spectrum. Oh, you know what freaks me out? A honeycomb. Oh no.
So no honeycomb cereal for you.
Honeycomb freaks me out. Certain rashes freak me out.
Well, I mean, I think certain rashes should probably freak us all out.
Those terrible pumpkin looking things that come out in the fall.
Oh, like the gourds.
Oh my God. Oh. I see that in Publix and I'm like, oh way.
So no cornucopia for you.
No, I could have a cornucopia without that wart infested thing. Like, whatever the hell. Who the hell buys that because they want to buy it? Like, that's not pretty.
It's got texture. When you want to add texture to your arreglo.
I can't be the only person with trypophobia. No, there are a lot of people.
I know you're not. Yes, you are the only person.
No. A lot of people have trypophobia.
Yeah, it's a thing. I didn't know it was a thing.
Oh, no. It's always been a thing.
No.
I've always felt that way. It just wasn't until I was older that I was like, oh, wait, there's other people who are freaked out by irregular circles.
Yes. Did you feel like Dorothy and the Golden Girls when you found out it had a name?
No, because Dorothy had chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yes, she did. She did.
Not the same thing.
No, but you know that feeling of like, oh, finally, I know what I have is real.
Yes, freaked me out. Oh, box of straws. Oh my God.
I wouldn't feel like when you said straws, I was like, a straw?
No,
like,
it's when they bring.
But it doesn't even dawn on me.
Yeah, when they bring a box of straw, like the industrial sized box
Okay,
of straws.
how many times are you being served an industrial box of straws?
When you go to a pizza place and they just have the straws there in the box for you to take.
All right, fair enough. No, because you made it sound like it was this thing that you encounter so often that I'm like,
But all it takes is a few times.
Okay,
And I'm like, don't look at the straws. Don't look at the straws. And then I look at the straws and I'm like, why? Why did I look at the straws?
it's like an accident. Why did I like an accident? You have to look. You have to look.
Yeah. Bubbles.
You and bubbles.
Okay, so something else that I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
This is the single most Miami thing that I've heard in a while.
Wow.
This
says
is
a lot on
very
this show.
Miami. This is very Miami. So maybe some of you have heard, it's been all over social media, that the DMV lines have gotten out of control.
Yes.
Out of control. Now, the last time I renewed my driver's license was like 6 years ago. And I simply made an appointment and I was in and out in like 10 minutes. So, and there were DMV lines
Then, right.
Yeah, DMV lines then, and people used to complain about them. But I don't know. I just went and made an appointment online and got my appointment in a few days. But whatever. It is what it is. So, in Mall of Americas, the línea de dar la vuelta al mall. Let's not even talk about Hialeah.
No, I mean, Hialeah is a line.
In Hialeah, there's people that they put it on Instagram that they get there at like 2 a.m, right? For the DMV lines.
Right.
Okay. So this week or a couple of days ago, they found, and there was this huge investigation by the Department of Transportation, the Florida Department of Transportation, and there's like a huge investigation going on, that there were people in the single most Miami thing there was, especially in the one in Hialeah, there were people who were getting there really early and standing in line to then sell their space in line. And it was anywhere between $50 to $250 for a spot in line. And I was thinking, wow, this is entrepreneurship to another level, right? But in the most Miami, that is one of those tell me you're from Miami without telling me you're from Miami. Because I could just imagine the talk there. Oye, mira. Tú me das a mí 75 pesos.
Y yo me paro ahí.
Y no, 75 pesos. Y estás entra y sale en 2 minutos. No, en 2 minutos. No, en 2 minutos tú entras y sales. Y ahora $75. Oye, y tú, a ti te van a suspender la licencia mañana, bro. Tú necesitas coger eso ahora mismo.
Dame 100 cañas.
Dale, $200 y ya, entras y sales. Entra y sales. No.
Eso es un 2x3.
Dale, no, pero en cash. No puedes mandar por Zelle. No, por cash. No, tiene que ser en efectivo. Mira, allá un ATM. Un ATA. Mira, ahí mismo ve, ahí en la esquina de Texas.
Yeah, I heard they were even selling the appointments.
They were selling the appointments.
Like people, I guess, would go online and make the appointment and then sell the appointment.
Sell the appointments.
Again,
Ticketmaster has nothing on them.
No, listen, it's easier to get a Taylor Swift ticket.
So that, I mean, in this week's It only happens in Miami corner, just like the other day I put on our Instagram that I was in Home Depot and the guy, and I did things that happened. No, what is that I called it? Things that remind me that I don't live in the United States. I live in Miami. That was in Home Depot and the guy was doing some type of tech support, fixing a car in Cuba on video. And he rang me up at Home Depot and he rang up everything perfectly. I'm like, I can't be mad, bro. Your multitasking is to another level, right? But here, in good old Miami entrepreneurship, which usually involves fraud.
Of course. It's no other way.
Because there's no better fraud than the Miami fraud.
We may be last in everything, but first in fraud.
Listen, as somebody who studied fraud in law school, there should be an extra course in Miami fraud, right? Like, there's fraud. And then there's the multi-state in fraud, which is the MB and the part of the bar exam. There's fraud, and then there's Florida or Miami fraud. They're not the same thing.
Which you should have a doctorate.
Right. Usually the fraud here includes Medicaid or durable medical supplies.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And apparently now the DMV.
And now the DMV. Yeah. Usually that's the type of fraud that we specialize in down here.
Again,
as entrepreneurs.
Listen, it's totally illegal. I get it. But another part of me is kind of like, you got to respect the hustle.
The creativity.
You got to respect the hustle. I mean, I have the fact that they saw that line and they were like, you know what? That is the type of entrepreneurship that can only come from growing up in a communist country.
So I have said this many times. And look, we're Cuban, so we get to shade our own people.
Yeah.
We just do. But you can't shade our people. But we can. I was practically born here. I went to school here. I went to law school. I consider myself an intelligent person, right? I get things. I read something once or twice and I understand it. I've always been able to do that. You probably too, right?
Except for Bitcoin, but yes.
Right. I know how things work. I understand the structure of things. Even if I don't know it inherently, I could, again, read it and learn it and all that. Not that I would commit Medicare fraud, but I wouldn't even know where to begin.
I wouldn't know where to start.
I don't even know the Medicare A and Medicare B, what it is. I wouldn't even know where to begin. But there's certain people from our, motherland
Aterrizan?
that it's like, I look at them and I'm like, oh my God, how on earth
you've been here 6 months.
Learn how to do this? I wouldn't even finish the application. I don't even know. How do you do this? Because it is like a master class in fraud, a master class. That there's a part of me that is like, wow, this is pretty amazing.
Again, a part of you wants to respect the hustle.
It's like, wow.
Yeah.
And they get very creative. I have seen some things in my days that I'm like, what? I would have never thought about that, but then again, I'm not trying to commit fraud. But it's like, wow, I'm like, do they take you aside and back the good old communist Cuba, and we're like, this is how you defraud.
That's what they teach you when they take you to Lo Campo.
Yes, and again, we can say that because we're Cuban. You cannot.
Yes. Absolutely. So I wanted to bring up one more, one little last thing. I saw this and I thought this is perfect for us.
It's perfect for us.
It's perfect for us. So there was a recent study that analyzed 100,000 words across 10 languages, and it found that Spanish is the world's happiest language. And they base this on the fact that Spanish has the highest positivity bias, meaning that it contains more positive words than negative ones. So researchers compiled the most frequently used words from books, news, social media, movies, and then had native speakers rate their emotional impact. The results suggest that Spanish speakers may experience a more optimistic outlook due to their language's naturally positive tone. What do you think about that?
I disagree with that.
Right.
Have you ever met an older Cuban woman who's happy?
Maybe this doesn't factor age. Maybe this doesn't say,
But it's still
after the age of 80,
But
you
it's
just
still
become
80. I think after 40. 40, no, after 30. Have you ever gone to any Latin-based service, a Walgreens that's like in Hialeah, una carniceria, a supermarket, and people are like giving you great, happy customer service.
Well, no, but that's a whole different conversation.
Or Mirta that works behind the counter in la cafeteria.
Yeah.
Mirta was like, que me parta un rayo, Like, I mean, where are these happy people?
So that's a no on your end.
I mean,
again, they were also including, German in there. So, I mean, automatically, Germany's going to go to the bottom of that list.
I mean, you don't know. Germans can be a hoot.
Okay, but as far as language goes, do you really think it's a happy language? like that's not a happy language.
Achtung, baby. That's all I know. And ja.
And baby's not even in German.
Oh, only Achtung.
Yes.
I think that maybe Spanish is a happy language because, Latin people are just very vivid and very we're very alive and exciting, and we exaggerate things, and we're very
animated.
Very animated. That's the word I was looking for. So it just sounds like it is.
Like we're happy.
But I mean, have you seen, and this is just not Cuban women, have you seen your older Latina woman? Like, they've had it. They have no time for you. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Sweet Brown was Latina.
Ain't nobody got time for that. And the men too. The men are always like, the older men are like always bothered. Like, Arturo, baja el aire acondicionado. Pero ¿por qué tú quieres que el aire? Aquí hay tremendo calor, coño. And it's like, okay, this was just a simple, like, can you put the air down? Did I just say anything that wasn't true?
No, you just recreated Ihmaed's grandparent theater.
Yeah. Yeah. You know that it's hilarious. I mean, yeah, my parents argue because they're in their 70s, late 70s. Well, my dad's 80. But like sometimes when they get into arguments, I'm like, I'm like the intermediary. I'm like, stop. Both of you, stop. Like little kids. It's funny when you get to the point where you revert.
Oh, yeah.
That I tell my parents now, when you get home, call me.
Oh, really?
And if they don't call me, I will call them.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. If my parents are out late, if I know they're going to my uncle's house and like I talk to them and it's 11:30 and I'm like, you're still out? Yeah, we're still out. I'm like, okay, when you get home, text me or call me. Oh, yeah. And if they don't call me, I will call them.
That's hilarious.
Ya ustedes llegaron a la casa. Okay, bye.
That's so funny.
Yeah. When your parents go driving to North Carolina, you don't call them or you don't know when they get there?
No, they usually text when they get there.
Okay. Well, if they didn't text, you wouldn't text them? Like the next day or whatever?
I would the next day, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
don't look at me.
Okay, no. But we're talking about like, two 70-year-olds taking like, a 13-hour drive as opposed to, your parents who are going to Kendall.
Yeah, but
I mean, these are not the same things.
But you never know. They could take a
Distance-wise.
wrong turn.
That's true. That's
They
true.
could take a wrong turn.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, have they ever gone to like a body shop? Nobody is happy there. Have they gone to una clínica cuando está llena de gente? Nobody's happy there either.
But most of these examples are also older people.
Have you gone to your average, younger, like Cuban? I'm talking about Cuban.
Oh, like
Right?
Guarazo.
Yeah, Cuban, talking to their kids. Are they happy? No. Es una amenaza tras de otra amenaza que te va a partir la cara, que te va a tirar de chancleta.
But it's from love.
Right.
So
but
isn't
it's
that happiness?
But it's aggressive. It's aggressive, right?
I guess. I don't know. I mean, I was trying to think of it in terms of like what they were saying, which is like that there's a lot more like positivity bias in terms of the words. And I also just wonder if a lot
I think we
of that,
party better.
I think 100%.
Yeah.
100%. But I also just wonder if a lot of that is something you and I joke about a lot on the show, which is like certain words just sound funnier, better, so on in Spanish versus English.
It's a great word in Spanish that they don't make. Well, okay. Traste, un traste.
Right.
It's traste.
Traste. Yeah.
And in English, it would be what? Tchotchkes?
See, in English, it could be very variable things. Excuse me. Because I think un traste could be like a collection
I think of something big.
to me, like un traste could be like an old car, right? Which would then could be like a jalopy. But then atrate could
What's a
also,
jalopy?
it's like an old car.
Oh, I thought you were going to say gelato.
No, a jalopy is like an old dilapidated, like it's a car that's like been.
No, mijito.
that's
In
on-
Spanish, es un transportation.
no, right. But what I'm saying is, like,
O un cacharro.
but what I'm saying is, trate can have like a lot of,
You know what's another great word in
meanings.
Spanish?
¿Cuál?
We don't say armoire. We say escaparate. Escaparate.
But see, that's what I mean. Doesn't that sound happier than armoire?
Absolutely not.
Oh, it makes me smile.
Un escaparate.
Yeah, it's a fun word to say.
Escaparate.
Escaparate.
You know what's another good one? Un tornillador.
Right, and in English, that's a screwdriver.
Un tornillador.
Yeah.
Un taladro.
Un taladro. Oh, a taladro sounds like very
Un
exotic.
tornillador plano o de estría.
Oh. Not in front of the children.
Remember what my favorite is? One of my favorites?
Pozuelo?
We don't say frame. We say
Oh,
portarretrato. That's so good. Portarretrato.
So I just think we just sound more poetic, maybe, and maybe that's the
I think
the
we sound
bias.
more passionate and we sound more animated. I don't think we sound happier. We don't. Again, we party better.
Yes.
We're more, spicy.
Right.
But being spicy, even think of like a spicy, the typical spicy person. It's usually with a little bit attitude and like a little bit like,
Sass.
Yeah, which is not necessarily happy.
Well, but I've never met an unhappy sassy
You know
person.
who sounds happy? I think Portuguese sounds it's very melodic.
Really?
You don't think Portuguese is melodic?
No, I'm just saying that because, there's similarities between the two. So it's just
Right.
that
I think maybe they sound happier. It's the Brazilians mostly and, Portuguese obviously. But,
that's
Brazilians.
true. I don't think I've ever seen an unhappy Brazilian.
No, they're, carnaval. Carnaval,
Even after get one of their waxes.
And then, Cubans have the whole communism thing going on. So they're just not happy.
Yeah.
If they're not going through un apagón in Cuba, then they're here thinking about it, the family they have
through
through
the
an apagón in
apagón,
Cuba.
Cuba, yeah.
And then if you've been here a lot of years, then you're just bitter that, they're even having apagones in
Right.
Cuba.
And it's been 50 plus years of apagones.
65, 66. Yeah, 66.
66.
That's a long time.
For apagon, yeah.
No, for one system of government.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, all this apagones is making us thirsty.
¿Tienes sed del apagón?
Tengo sed.
All right. Do you want to go first?
I do want to go first.
Right.
So we have a listener, and I'm going to give her a little shout out, but she texted us something about it's our listener's La Wee Wee. Her screen name. Well,
I love that. That ties back to the whole.
I don't want to
nickname
give.
thing
I don't
the
want to
other
give
day.
her
No,
whole
that's
name.
fine.
La Wee Wee, and she was telling me. She DM'd us today, and she was saying how she's from Westchester, and she used to live right by Olympia Heights, right? So that's very middle,
That's-
like heart of
that's
Westchester.
us, yeah.
And she was saying if she grew up in that area listening to El Afilador. And I haven't said I think I've said my Afilador
Yes,
story,
you
but I
have.
haven't said it since we've
Not
been
since
here.
video, yeah.
So I also grew up in Westchester, but I never heard it El Afilador. Okay, I heard the ice cream truck, but not El Afilador.
And I grew up in that area, and I never heard it either.
So years later, when I first opened my office in Hialeah, and my office in Hialeah is like, in a very, very commercial area of Hialeah. And I'm there on my computer, and I hear the little flute, because it's a flute. And it was a little distorted because there's a lot of traffic in this area. So there's, a lot of cars and noises. And I hear all of a sudden, I got to put the mic away. Afilador! Because they don't say it like gently.
Well,
It's like, afilador! And I'm like, what is that? Like, I come out of my office, it's like, what is that? And my assistant at the time, she's like, oh, el afilador. And I'm like, what the hell's un afilador?
I love the calm she said.
And she's like, the guy that comes around wanting to sharpen your knives. And I'm like, okay, afilador, I got it. But I'm like, this is a thing? So then I go and I ask my parents, I'm like, the thing about el afilador, and my parents like, ay, sí, en Cuba siempre estaban los afiladores que venían en el pueblo. And they're like, por aquí pasa el afilador. And I'm like, okay, hold on. I was like, hold on. That's it.
That's the little piccolo sound. Yeah. That is it.
Okay. Okay, that sounds like war is coming. Run for your life. No, it's just some dude who's probably really unhappy, who wants to, speaking Spanish, who wants to sharpen your knives. And I was like, A, for the convenience, because I have a lot of knives that need to be sharpened. Right. If an afilador went by my house and I'll be like, listen,
Just stop.
Roberto, para, que tengo muchos cuchillos que necesito que afile.
Hace el día.
But I was like, when I first heard this in Hialeah, then after a while, it's like, oh, it's an afilador. Oh, it's 12 as an afilador passed by 16th Avenue. So it became such a like normal thing in Hialeah. But I liked that she sent me that message because that whole afilador thing is the afilador passing by your house and hearing the little flute as Junior just played, and then him screaming afilador. That's such a big part, I think, of like the Latin experience, the Cuban experience, the Miami experience, that those are things that you don't even think about.
Yeah.
They're just there, but they are very, very unique because these are customs that come from your country of origin that are a very big part of where you're from. And somehow they've seamlessly reappeared in Miami. And again, it's one of those things that like, you can't be mad at it because it's so nostalgic and it's so of a place and time that, a guy screaming afilador, gives you warm feelings. It's like, oh, an afilador, even though it's obstructive as hell. So, Lawiwi, thank you for your DM.
Yes.
See, we love our listeners and viewers here at Pero Let Me Tell You.
Yeah, and there's a lot of you that are new listeners, new Pero Primos, who've gone out of your way to tell us, you've just recently discovered us and have become part of the family. So, welcome and thank you.
And you have green lemons.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of you have commented
I mean,
on that.
who knew that after 335 episodes and
Los
so
limones.
many posts on our Instagram that it was going to be a post about lemons and limes that got 2.6 million listeners. But,
It makes sense in a weird way.
we love it and we appreciate it. And
We're going to ride those limes.
we make
there.
no...
2.7.
It's at 2.7?
2.7.
Okay.
But by the time that you hear this, it'll be 2.8.
Yeah.
Or
So,
2.9 for all we know.
yeah. So lemons, lime, Sprite, 7-Up. We love it all.
We love it all. All of it. All of it.
Limeade Sonics, get legal Sonics burger right now.
This is the greatest hits.
Yeah. I'm going down like...
So my last soda, I'm gonna keep it relatively short and sweet. So last Sunday was a rare Sunday that we didn't have a pop up or have something to do. So we went to the movies and we went to the Grove and we did a whole thing. And I was like, let's go to the movies. And I wanted something just fun. And so luckily there is a new Looney Tunes movie out. It's called The Day the Earth Blew Up. And it's with Daffy Duck, Porky Pig. It is all hand drawn animation.
So it's like the old school animation.
It is old school animation. It is it was absolutely, it was 90 minutes. It was great to just go in there and laugh. And it wasn't trying to be modern per se. Mm-hmm. It still had the old Looney Tunes sensibilities. A little twist here and there.
So was Daffy Duck crazy?
Daffy Duck was crazy, but they had cell phones. So it existed in our world, but it was still that same crazy, Looney Tunes aesthetic. And I hadn't realized how much I missed and loved those old school cartoons, and especially like that old school animation. It was just something to seeing it, especially on the big screen. And especially it's a little backstory on it. This is a movie that actually was completed back in like 2021. Mm-hmm. And when Warner Brothers went through its whole purge when it merged with Discovery and they started canceling projects, this was one of the projects that was completed and then it was kind of shelved. Like, oh, we're just not going to release it. Like what happened with Batgirl. And there's another Warner movie that I really hope they do release. It's called Wile E. Coyote versus Acme, which is basically like Wile E. Coyote taking Acme to court.
How is this not a movie yet?
And it's done. The movie is filmed. It was completed.
But that is what we've always wanted to see.
This is what everybody's saying. So this movie actually,
the greatest evidence is the anvil.
I mean, it's there.
I only know what an anvil is because of Looney Tunes.
Yes,
when I saw
exactly.
one in real life, I'm like, these things exist in real
Same.
life.
I didn't know. I thought that was just some invento of the Looney Tunes cartoons. But yes, so sorry. So what I was getting at is, in recent years, all these cost cutting efforts with Warner Brothers. This, for instance, this Looney Tunes movie was actually not distributed by Warner Studios, which is why you may not have heard of it. It was bought by another production company called like Ketchup Inc. or something like that, and they released it, and they're the ones putting it into theaters, which is why it has a smaller run, theatrical run, and all that. But Warner Brothers has also, I believe I read, removed the Looney Tunes library from Max because they want to focus on like original content and family programming, whatever bullshit they came up with, right? So now these classics of animation are not in their home. And I think it's so sad that, you've got this.
They're not in Warner Brothers.
They're not on Max, basically.
Because Warner Brothers, Max has Warner Brothers.
Correct. Because it's Warner is part of, HBO is part of Warner.
Okay.
But it's just really sad.
It's also confusing.
All these things are just one big ass company.
This Medicare fraud, so confusing.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, that's probably less confusing. But I love all these old cartoons, and I think it's some of them, yes, some of them if you go back, they're problematic. Yes, 1,012%. But the Looney Tunes cartoons specifically were just so madcap crazy, and I think informed so much of, like, I'm speaking for myself, my sense of humor, like my pop culture knowledge, the fact that we know certain people because we would see these cartoons from the 40s, and that's how we know who Frank Sinatra was and Clark Gable because of those caricatures, and the Barber of Seville was our first exposure to opera.
I think a lot of the Looney Tunes cartoons and with Bugs Bunny and all that, they're obviously, as kids, we missed a lot of references, but they are filled with references. Absolutely. That as an adult, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, and they're absolutely subversive. And so I feel like, Looney Tunes is a big part of who I am as far as my sense of humor and sensibilities. So, I just wanted to get my last soda to, if you get a chance to see it in the theaters, go support it. It's called The Looney Tunes Movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up.
We're tiny, we're toony, we're all a little loony, and in this cartoony, we're invading your TV.
With comic dispensers, we crack up all the sensors. With Tiny Toon Adventures, got a dose of comedy. So here's Acme Acres. Yeah.
At Acme University, where we get our Toon degree. Yep.
They tried rebooting that one, or they did. I just don't know how it.
What my favorite Looney Tunes one is?
Gossamer. A permanent.
Come back, my little rabbit. And that is where I learned that ether gets you high.
You see?
On Looney Tunes.
You see? We learned from cartoons back then, dagnabbit.
I love when Gossamer le da la presilla. Bugs Bunny. And I love when he puts the dynamite. You know which episode I'm talking about? The big orange thing. The big hairy orange thing.
Monster. Okay, his name is Gossamer.
Gossamer. Then he puts the dynamite. It's always TNT.
Well, of course.
Right. Is TNT manufactured by Acme?
I'm going to say yes.
Yes. Yeah. I love when he blows him up. Que se queda sin pelo. He ties up the... I don't know. I love it.
So yes.
Wow. Versus Acme.
I know.
And he takes him to court.
I know.
Okay, who represents Acme? I have so many questions.
Cena.
John Cena?
John Cena is
the lawyer for Acme?
Is the lawyer for Acme, yes.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
But now it makes sense.
I mean, look, the entire movie, again, this is why it doesn't make sense. It was finished. It has names in it. I think it was executive produced by James Gunn, who is now heading up all of the DC movies at Warner. Why is this not being released? I don't understand. Just drop it on Max.
Who's your favorite character?
My favorite character.
I love Daffy
from Looney Tunes. I love Daffy, but I think there's something I would like to think I would like to be Bugs Bunny.
El Conejo Bugs.
Yes, because he's always the smartest person in the room, and there's just something he's always kind of cool.
Oh my god! You know which one I can't stand, but me cae mal, but whatever is Hace.
Wait, Foghorn Leghorn?
Foghorn, yeah, whatever. Bogborn,
the
la
rooster.
cosa, pelea, la gallina esa. Hacer.
I love me some foghorn leghorn.
And what's his girlfriend's name?
The one that looks like Iola as a chicken?
Yeah, she has a bonnet. What's her name?
I don't know what her name is.
Prudence?
I want to say Betsy.
Betsy?
I could, you know what? I'm sure she has a name and I don't know what it is.
And don't tell what's the other one? Are we hunting? You know, the thing is, I always get confused when I make the voices with Helmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam.
They're so different.
I'm like, we hunting rabbits.
Why is your Elmer so angry?
Because he sounds like Yosemite Sam. Yosemite Sam needed to take blood pressure medication. Like, él estaba de madre. Él siempre estaba acelerado.
That would be great if they do like one of those, prescription drug commercials.
Wait, Yosemite Sam, the one he chased was Speedy Gonzalez. No,
he also chased bugs.
Oh, he also chased bugs.
Yeah.
Wait. What was Speedy Gonzalez's drunk cousin?
Slowpoke Rodriguez. Can't make it up, kids.
And don't you think it was poetic and beautiful that the reason why Marvin wanted to blow up Earth was so he could see Venus? I mean, it had a... The Earth will destruct in 5 seconds.
Marvin the Martian is the ultimate real estate bro. It's just wants a view.
He was like, he wanted to see Venus. The freaking Earth was in the way.
Oh, stupid planet.
But look, I still watch, like you, I will still watch those episodes and crack up.
They're hilarious.
And to think that those episodes were made before our parents were born.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And generation upon generation still finds those episodes funny. And I mean, if that is not the evidence of something that's well written and timeless, I mean, what is? Because, these things are 80 years old or more.
Cuidado.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite something. So, you know what's not going to... I'm not the only person to say this. Do you know what I predict is not going to do well in the box office this week or whenever it opens?
Oh, Snow White.
Snow White. Yeah, that thing is heading...
Yeah, it's a little DOA.
That thing... Yeah. But it's just been plagued by so many things. And you know what? You were one of the first people that said this. Who is asking for these live animation,
Each subsequent one that Disney has done has had diminishing returns. Each one. It has not gone up. It hasn't plateaued. It has gone down.
Even Little Mermaid?
Mm-hmm. All of them. I mean, just in the grand scheme of things.
Okay, but why are they making this?
Because
they're not good.
Because they own the IP and they don't have to pay
they're
for
not
a
good.
script.
The one that I saw that I thought was the best, and I wouldn't put it good, was Beauty and the Beast.
And that's a low bar.
I thought of all of them, it was okay. Mm-hmm. But again, you lose the magic of the animation. And how does Disney not understand that? And if they're losing money, why are they doing this? And nobody is asking for this.
Right.
Nobody's asking for it. But,
IP, baby. That's all.
With that said, I am going to see the live one of Stitch because Stitch is my boy. My spirit animal has been Stitch, and it's been that for a long time.
Experiment.
Not now that he's sort of in fashion. I've always, since I first saw Stitch,
I was you still have that hot cocoa tin.
I do, and I have a lot of stuff of Stitch.
Yep.
I love at the beginning when he's still in the cell. He's making his case to the queen, and he's like, "Mother, mana Krishna," and she goes, "Oh, naughty." I think we need to end the show.
We're gonna go find our experiment 826.
626.
626.
826 is a whole other movie.
It's a whole other movie.
Spin-off.
That's you know what? It's probably
also
coming.
the Palmetto.
Oh no, that's a horror movie.
That's a horror movie. Yeah. That's the real horror
Anyway,
movie.
everybody, we hope you listened, laughed, and learned. And as always, remember to grab your pastelito, your croqueta, and your cafecito. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Have a great weekend. See you next week.
Cuídense, mi gente.
Bye-bye.